It's a little early because we're on another coast, but we're here. Yeah. I know, we slept so well last night. She let me sleep. Wasn't that nice of her? Yes. Hello. Hello right back to you, Becca, who we love. She's asleep, or she'd say hi too, but she's in her wrap. She's all wrapped up. She's been asleep for, gosh, an hour and 15 minutes already. So she's getting a good nap. Yes, she is. All of her cousins went to the water park, but because she was already in her wrap napping, we decided to stay here because they're only going for 2 hours, and it seems silly to wake her up, take her out, put her in a car seat, take her to a water park where there's not much for her to do, just to piss her off when she was already sleeping, and she'll probably sleep the whole time they're gone, so, or at least most of it. So we stayed here, just the two of us. Everyone's at the water park except us, so we have quiet time, and I was like, well, since we're the only ones here, caught you up. I'm saying it again. Hey, Grayson, Auntie Grayson, here, sweetheart. What happened this time, Christina? Yes, there was a lot of cousin energy already this morning. It was so cute, you guys. I held both babies at the same time, 4th time in a week. I only knew about one other one. What do you mean 4th time in a week? Okay, I'm sorry. They cannot give you that truck again. At this point, it's negligence for them to give you a truck that they know is breaking down that much. That's not a joke anymore. 1 time, you can maybe call it an accident. Hey, Isabella, 4 times, I wouldn't trust it anymore, Christina. I would ask for, like, I don't know what you can do. My God. Absolutely outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. I will tell you guys, I have coffee, but I'm missing my coffee, something fierce. What a lovely surprise. Yeah, I know. It hasn't even, we only, it's Monday, so we only missed Sunday, which we always miss anyway. So that's pretty good, right? Pretty good. So far we have book club on our normal, I mean, it's a little earlier. It's like 40 minutes earlier than usual, but that's not so bad, right? It's not so bad. So, did you find the baby nursing station? The baby nursing station, what does that mean? The baby nursing station, 1 package could be delivered May 31st, according to Etsy. Somehow, I doubt it. Yeah, that seems a little impossible. What baby nursing station? Oh, we're not going to be at Disney until next week, so we haven't even looked yet. But I'm not even going to lie to you, Roxy. I just feed her on the go. I don't even bother going to nursing stations. I've gotten so efficient at feeding her while walking around, I don't even bother going anywhere else. If people are bothered by me nursing her in the world, they can, as far as I'm concerned. I just pop it out and feed her in her carriers. Yeah, I don't bother. She's good at it. It doesn't bother her. She hates nursing covers and everything anyway, so, you know. I don't know who you are, but I don't want to join your live, whoever you are. There's AC and stuff just in case. Oh, see, that is nice. AC is good. But we're not going till next week anyway. Yeah, we're not going till next week anyway. We're at my in-laws' house right now in the guest bedroom. So that is what we are doing. So, guys, because I didn't want anyone who's normally in book club to miss out on the book that we were reading, Morning Ray. So here's the thing. I knew that book club was going to be like intermittent while we were gone, but also possibly at different times. So I downloaded a different book that's full of like, it's nonfiction. You know what I mean? So that there's not like a storyline to follow, for example. And I won't read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes while we're gone because I don't want anyone who was with us at the normal time to miss out. But I downloaded a book called Toxic, and it's about tabloid culture in the 90s, which I thought was super cool. I'm very interested in this, and I told you guys about it before. You're in Disney World next week too, Emily? Really? What parks are you going to? Stay asleep, my sweet angel. You need the sleep. Keep the full nap. So anyway, it does sound very interesting to me. So this is the timeline that they're giving for like females in tabloid culture, people who they're going to talk about. Hey, Stephanie, sleepy baby makes my heart happy too. You're almost your turn. You only have a couple months to go. Morning, Lauren. So here's the people that it's about females in tabloid culture. So the people that this is the timeline. May 1966, Janet is born. February 1969, Jen is born. December 1969, China is born. January 1979, Aaliyah is born. October 1980, Kim is born. February 1981, Paris is born. December 1981, Britney is born. Nonfiction equals non-fake. Yes, that's right, non-fake. September 1983, Amy is born. July 1986, Lindsay is born. September 1999, Baby One More Time is released. August 2001, Aaliyah dies. September 2011, 9/11 happens. November 2001, China leaves the WWE. So along with another family. Well, you should definitely message us. We'll be there the whole time. You think maybe we would? No, yeah. Go PTO today and decide to go heavy on Inside Out. Oh, body double for you. That's right. December 2022, Gawker launches. August 2003, MySpace launched. December 2003, The Simple Life first broadcast. January 2004, The Apprentice first broadcast. February 2004, Nipplegate. We all know what happened there. February 2004, Facebook launches. April 2004, Mean Girls released. May 2004, the last episode of Friends broadcast. Hey Naisa, isn't that interesting? Facebook launched 2 months before Mean Girls, and then right after that, the last episode of Friends broadcast. So Mean Girls started when Friends ended, like culturally. It's kind of an interesting crossover, because a lot of people who use Friends references in their pop culture also use Mean Girls references, so there's an overlap of that time frame, June 2004, One Night in Paris is released. September 2004, Paris Hilton is launched as Page 666. Oh, sorry, Perez Hilton is launched, but back then it was called Page 666. December 2004, One Night in China is released. January 2005, Brad and Jen announce their separation. February 2005, YouTube launches. November 2005, TMZ launches. March 2006, Twitter launches. October 2006, Back to Black is released. February of 2007, Britney shaves her head. May of 2007, Lindsay Lohan is arrested for the first time. March of 2007, Kim Kardashian, Superstar, is released. Why do I feel like that baby ain't vaccinated? That's a really strange thing to say, especially because I have literally talked about her vaccinations on this page. It's a really weird thing to say. Yeah. She actually got her most recent vaccination 1 week ago today. So have a nice life. I hope you have the day you deserve. October 2007. Oh, sorry, we missed one. June 2007. Paris goes to jail. October 2007. Keeping Up with the Kardashians first broadcast. June 2008. R. Kelly is cleared of child schmography charges. That's funny, Becca. Yep, mods were like, bye. September 2008, the Lehman Brothers declare bankruptcy. October 2008, Britney is placed under permanent wouldn't it be cute if I knew how to read? Conservatorship. October 2010, Instagram is launched. Okay, wait. Can we talk about this? Does anyone else ever feel like the timeline in their brain does not know what is up? Because Britney was up until last year, Britney was under the conservatorship longer than Instagram had been around. Longer than Instagram had been around. My brain did not put that together. Oh my God. That is mortifying as a person. Wow. July 2011, Amy dies. October 2012, Gawker publishes the Hulk Hogan Schmex tape. And March of 2013, the song Blurred Lines is released. Wow. Wow. Oh, it let you approve Stephanie's comment? Oh, that's exciting. Stay asleep, honey. Stay asleep. Stay asleep. Okay. Very interesting. I thought that timeline was very interesting. You're okay. You can stay asleep. So, this is called Introduction, a Reasonable Expectation of Privacy. She needed it for a bit, but not the way it happened. Yeah, agreed. I agree on that. But like that was too long. You're okay. You can stay asleep. Okay, here we go. This is a book about 9 women so famous that you know them by their first names alone. Brittany, Paris, Lindsay, Aaliyah, Janet, Amy, Kim, China, and Jen. It's about what celebrity did to them, how celebrity changed them, and why the early parts of this century was such a monstrous time to be famous and female. Oh, you like the spinach video? I love it too. Yeah, she disagrees with the timeline. This is about how the concept of privacy came undone and why that was a catastrophe for women. In the strange, febrile years of the aughts, the women in this book lived outsized lives in the popular imagination. Their bodies, their images, their personal dramas were all dissected in minutest detail across tabloid magazines and gossip blogs. Those of us who came of age around the millennium lived through Britney's descent from virginal schoolgirl to public disgrace. We lived through Paris's Schmeck's tape and through Lindsay's partying. We lived through Aaliyah's death and the particular coyness around her relationship with the man who publicly groomed her. Through Janet's humiliation during Nipplegate and through Amy's destruction by addiction as she romanticized it in her music. We lived through Kim's triumphant assault on Frame, through China's decline from athletic trailblazer to train wreck, through the tabloid creation of Sad Jen, and the incessant speculation over whether or not she would have children. You taught me that word, by the way, a couple of years ago. Which word? Wait, which word? Disagrees with the timeline. Wait, which word? When I say we lived through these things, I don't mean merely that they happened while we were alive, nor do I mean that they were somehow ordeals that we, the public, had to suffer. Whatever suffering there was, it belonged to the women that the book is about. What I mean is that the stories of these women, as told by the tabloid press and celebrity blogs, became vehicles in which we made sense of our own existence. Oh, the aughts, yes. For the public, tearing these women to pieces was both social activity and a form of divination. In the entrails of their reputations, we hunt for clues about what women ought to be. Different ought than that ought. This has always been one of the functions of celebrity women. Writing in the 1970s, film critic Molly Haskell described female screen stars of Hollywood's golden age as two-way mirrors linking immediate past with immediate future. The cast of this book, 4 singers, 2 actresses, 2 reality stars, 1 pro wrestler, were the two-way mirror of the millennial era. Oh my gosh, this is so true. Does anyone else who was young during that time period totally feel this? I mean, it definitely resonates for me. Fame has always been psychologically devastating to many of those that it touches, and the media has always been cruel to women. But thanks to a particular mix of new technology and old misogyny, the women that I write about here experienced a kind of hypertrophied celebrity that had never existed before. All the wrenching forces of the digital revolution were cursed through them. Unsurprisingly, some of them shattered. This book begins, though, with the story of an anonymous 16-year-old in a branch of Target in Tulsa, Oklahoma. In 2006, the girl stopped to look at some greeting cards, and a man stopped to look at her. His name was Ricardo Ferrante, and he was 33 years old. CCTV footage caught him crouching down beside her and using a digital camera to take pictures up her skirt while she browsed obliviously. But a security employee saw the incident and notified the police. Me living under a rock. Yeah, I only sort of know about China, but yes. It was an open and shut case of voyeurism. Ferrante had seen a TV item about upskirts and had been inspired to try it himself. He told the police that he was a leg man and that he had intended to take pictures of her legs. It was also a sign of a growing problem. According to CPL Mark Myers of the Tulsa Police Department, With digital cameras and phone cameras, it's very easy to get video. There's been, you can ask our cybercrime guys, many of these that end up on the internet. End quote. At least in this case, the alleged perpetrator had been brought before the court. Then, in 2007, Judge Tom Gilbert ordered that the charges against Ferrante be dismissed on the grounds that the person photographed was not in a place where she had a reasonable expectation of privacy. What? I'm sorry. What? I got sleep, but I didn't get enough sleep to get through that sentence. A teenager doesn't have a reasonable expectation of privacy under her clothes? Even if she's at Target? Same, Brittany. Jeez Louise. Okay. And in 2008, an appeals court concurred. Literally what? By being in a public space, the girl was understood to have made the most intimate parts of her body available to anyone who cared to look. What? What? This is in 2 courts. 2 different courts. Oh my God. We have girl children. Oh my God. Formally, this ruling was gender neutral. Men as well as women could have no reasonable expectation of privacy in the Target stationery aisle. Practically, privacy had a different import depending on your, I'm going to use the word gender because if I use the word that they use, we know, okay, caveat. Gender is a construct, and you know that I know the difference between schmex and gender, but I'm tired of saying schmex over and over again. So in place of that, when they're using it in this context, I'm going to say gender for the ease of reading through things here forward. There, now you've had my disclaimer. Gender. Men were in no danger of being upskirted. Quote, the legal concept of privacy, noted feminist legal scholar Catherine A. McKinnon in 1989, can and has shielded the place of battery, marital, you know what, and women's exploited domestic labor. The right to privacy functioned as a right of men to be let alone and to oppress women at one time. The Oklahoma legislature tightened its peeping Tom statute following this case, but the same problem arose elsewhere. This is very interesting. I didn't know that the book was going to start like this, but I'm fascinated by this. In 2014, a Boston man who upskirted a woman on the subway was exonerated on the same grounds. Caddy has a rainbow primer, 100% for that reason. Yes, literally. We have a bunch of leggings. We don't have shorts yet. We're working with leggings for now on this one. The violation Ferrante committed would not have been possible before the introduction of small light point and shoot digital cameras in the early aughts. In fact, at the same time that Ferrante was being arrested for upskirting, professional photographers were taking the exact same kind of picture with no risk of police attention. The difference was that the paparazzi were doing it to famous women. The website Fleshbot, which covered Schmography, was a part of Gawker's stable of blogs and routinely published upskirt pictures of celebrities and maintained conveniently cynical attitude towards its subjects. We always had suspicions that when Britney, Paris, Lindsay, etc. accidentally flashed their lady business to the paparazzi, it was a lot more calculated by their publicists than you would believe. After all, there's no easier way to get your attention than to show some hoo-ha to your adoring public, declared a 2007 post. This is wild. Yeah, she called them out. There were even sites like a charmingly named Hollywood Tuna dedicated to cataloging compromising shots of famous women. Readers saw the posts and assumed, with a nudge from the copy, that the women in question were sloppy exhibitionists, that they could see that this was a way that pictures were obtained. In 2009, Harry Potter actress Emma Watson described how her 18th birthday celebrations in London had been mobbed by photographers. She said, and I quote, "I released that day overnight I'd become fair game. I realized that in that night I'd become fair game," she told the Daily Mail. "I had a party in town and the pavement were just up knee deep with photographers trying to get a shot of me looking drunk, which wasn't going to happen. The sickest part was when one photographer laid down on the floor to get a shot up my skirt. The night it was legal for them to do it, they did it. I woke up the next day and I felt completely violated by it all." I don't blame her. If an unknown 16-year-old in Target could have no reasonable expectation of privacy, such a right certainly did not apply to a famous 18-year-old celebrity on an outing. Nor did the reasonable expectation of privacy extend to the pictures that had been taken privately and then somehow made their way into public view. In September 2007, nudes purportedly of the High School Musical star Vanessa Hudgens, then 18, appeared on Fleshbot and the website I Don't Like You in That Way. Fleshbot concluded that identification was probably wishful thinking, and the full frontal bedroom shots were likely to be of some other teenager with cute but bland features. It published them nonetheless. Actually, the shots were legit, and Hudgens' representative confirmed that to TMZ. Quote, "This was a photo shoot which was taken privately. It is a personal matter, and it's unfortunate that this has become public," end quote. Presumably, these pictures had either been hacked from a cloud server or leaked by the original recipient, whoever that was. Yeah, it's really bad that they're doing it as pranks now, right? Like, the fact that this is even happening is pretty bad. Yeah. This did not lead to any introspection about the ethics of posting such pictures, nor did the fact that Hudgens was probably under 18 when the pictures were taken. Fleshbot noted that the nudes did not feature Hudgens' navel piercing, but not the significance of her having gotten that piercing when she was only 16. Then again, it had been happy to hit publish when it believed that the pictures were of an unknown girl of an unknown age, with no indication of how they had been acquired. I feel like I'm going to give a lot of side-eye during this book. Even in your own bedroom, there was no reasonable expectation of privacy. I know, it's gross just hearing it, Christina, but I do feel like even though it's gross to hear it, I feel like reading and recognizing these things is so important, and like getting information like this out. The fact that this was even being upheld in the courts, saying it out loud is important because it helps us make better decisions. It's so important, right? Like going forward. Like obviously I don't like it, but like I love learning about it because I want to be able to do better for my daughter and all of us as a whole. 100%, Brittany, 100%. This was a time when feminism could not have been more needed, and yet, perversely, it was a time when women's liberation had been declared prematurely redundant. Things that the second wave of feminism had worked hard to make socially unacceptable, schmashmography, schmexmalization, painful beauty standards, now made a resurgence. This is really interesting. We do need to feel uncomfortable. Yeah. I want to talk about this when I was the age that these things were happening, I was very much, 100%, you have so many, Grayson, and I get it. But at this age, like in these early aughts, when we were all living through this, I was led to believe through many different sources, just what she's saying here, that feminism is bad and redundant and it's causing problems and all that stuff. And like, I worked my way out of it as I was like not a teenager anymore, but so many people were, I don't want to use the word groomed because groomed is the wrong term in this case, but like led to believe, taught to believe those things about it, exactly what she's saying here, which is how we got to a lot of these issues. Some of us are, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but intelligent enough to, crud pool pump leak. Oh, see you later, Becca. Intelligent enough to read enough and work my way out of it. We were brainwashed, that's the word. Brainwashed to the objectification of women that we were subjected to. Yes, that is a great line, Claire. What a genius line. I'm going to read that again, what Claire said, because this is important. We were so brainwashed by the objectification of women that we were subjected to. Yes, that is the line, right? And some of us, like I said, myself included, did a research, read, desensitized. Christina's right. That's the other word, desensitized to it. And worked my way out of it and ended up way, way on the other side. But not everyone did, right? Not everyone did. And that's why this kind of stuff is important. Let's keep going. Let's see. Only the blah, blah, blah. Women appeared to be embracing these things voluntarily. This new raunch culture did not mark the death of feminism. It was evidence that the feminist project had already been achieved, wrote Ariel Levy in her 2005 book, Female Chauvinist Pigs, Women and the Rise of Raunch Culture. Quote, "We earned the right to look at Playboy. We were empowered enough to get Brazilian waxes. Women had come so far. I learned we no longer needed to worry about the objectification and misogyny. Instead, it was time for us to join the frat party of pop culture where men have been enjoying themselves all along." End quote. Levy was skeptical about this, but many were not. And besides, the more the public sphere adopted this corn standard of the internet, the greater exclusion was faced by anyone who declined to participate. Interesting. If the aughts had a spirit of the age, it was probably embodied by the Ricardo Ferrante Tulsa legally upholding authorization of upskirting, which is why I think of the period covered in this book as the upskirt decade. It begins in 1998 with the release of Britney's debut, Baby One More Time, and ends with the feminist backlash to Robin Thicke's single Blurred Lines in 2013. I grew up in a house where my dad was very rightly, he said, well, 100%, Avery, 100%. You'll never convince me, wait, hold on, what did she say? It never convinced me the song, the anger about wokeness due to, yes, 100%. Yeah, it's crazy, right? History does not always fit within neat parameters. In the White Album, Joanna Diadon identifies the years of the 60s as 1966 to 1971. The long 19th century runs from the French Revolution to the outbreak of World War I. My focus here is on a kind of long aughts, 15 years in which the world became so altered that it's hard to recapture what it's meant like to live through them. Many of the incidents in this book seem probably outrageous now that the internet has become a settled part of life, subject to laws and norms. But in the times that I describe, the digital world was kind of a Wild West. It was argued, and more importantly, it was felt, that copyright, privacy, indecency, and libel were all concepts that could have no force online. I was 16 at the start of 1998, and in 2013 I turned 32. The years that I cover in this book marked my passage from childhood to adulthood, but they also marked the passage of the internet from novelty to utility. At the start of this period, 30% of the US population had access to the internet. As late as 2005, gossip blogger Perez Hilton was spending most of his days in a coffee shop because he didn't have an internet connection in his home. By 2013, 71% of the US population was online. In the United Kingdom, the rise was starker, from 14% to 90%. The increase in time spent online is even more instructive. Oof. In 2005, sorry, I need water. Okay. In 2005, users in the United Kingdom spent an average of 10 hours a week on the internet. A decade later, that figure has doubled, and the way that people were accessing the internet has changed too, with the widespread adoption of smartphones and the rise of social media. This change brought convenience and innovation that is so much that it needs to be celebrated. It is not the argument of this book that the internet is bad, but any mass technological shift brings societal change with it, and the digital revolution of the early 21st century affected men and women unequally because it exploded the distinction of private and public that had been more or less stable since the Industrial Revolution. And as the Tulsa example showed, both public life and privacy were concepts that applied differently depending on whether you had male or female bodies. At the same time, women were entering into the public in greater numbers than ever before and making decisions about their private lives that were considered public import. Specifically, deferring having children, or declining motherhood altogether. Fame is the phenomenon of private individuals unmasked developing one sided personal relationships towards public figures, which makes it the place where public and private collide. And so famous women were where all the stresses of the aughts were brought to bear. Interesting. A common complaint about the aughts celebrity culture was that it was the manifestation of degraded, trivial society, a complaint often made perversely by the celebrity culture's most avid participants. This is so true. Do any of you follow Matter of Fact, who covers like royal news? This line right here is so true when it comes to the royals, because the people who follow them are often the ones, I'm not talking about Amanda complaining, but like the people in her comments. Like, I don't follow royal news at all. I just follow her because I think she's interesting. But like, her comment section is crazy. It is crazy. It makes me so glad that I don't do anything like that, because I wouldn't be able to handle what she deals with daily. You know, like someone came on here and claimed my child wasn't vaccinated, and I couldn't even handle that, even knowing it's not true. And perhaps it was, but it also is a reaction to the era's most momentous happening. The internet was a public place. The often used metaphor of the town square made that clear. Experienced in the privacy between user and screen, it allowed the private self to merge into the professional world of the workplace, where computer workers could check personal emails and browse the web while they were on the clock. And it allowed the public life of the workplace to seep into areas previously reserved for the private self. In 2007, in the New York Times, one writer issued a frazzled wail in response to the power wielded over him by his BlackBerry, yet to be displaced by the iPhone as the default smartphone. Quote, "Keeping out of touch is not a serious option unless all the systems were to crash everywhere." This is really interesting. I think we all feel this, right? Nowadays, there's almost nowhere left to hide. As the range of messaging platforms expanded and the expectation of constant availability grew, it was a problem that would only become more acute. On message boards and social media, users often behaved as though they were in a private space communicating among friends, only to realize belatedly that they were actually on public platforms broadcasting to the world. That's why we have Patreon, because it's actually locked. The term context collapse described the constraints that this created. In 2009, businesswoman Penelope Trunk caused a minor global incident when she live tweeted her miscarriage during a board meeting. Whoa. "Twitter is not a public forum," she wrote in an article for Guardian about her experience. What? Yes, it is. I mean, it doesn't exist anymore, but yes, it is. But clearly it was. It didn't always feel like one, though, when you were using it. The expression of "nowhere left to hide" described the too panoptic effect of mass digital camera ownership. Paparazzi were more pervasive and more agile than ever before. It would be considerably harder to get down in the gutter with a bulky analog camera, while the move from physical camera rolls to digital memory cards freed up photographers to take more pictures, which could then be processed nearly instantly. The concept of relative privacy in a public place died everywhere as it died in Tulsa. Another kind of context collapse, as places once moderately private for celebrities, the insides of cars, the outsides of clubs, became unambiguously public. The proliferation of photography created new opportunities for the gossip magazines. Tabloids such as Us Weekly, Star, and in the United Kingdom, Heat, had access to more shots than ever before, out of which they could conjure more celebrity speculation than ever before. Even if there was no news about popular stars in a certain week, a creative editor could always spin a story around a fleeting moment digitally captured. This is very interesting. I'm very interested in this concept. After all, these magazines needed to give their readers something. Competition from the internet was eating into print sales, and a tantalizing front page could make all the difference at the newsstand. But because magazines fundamentally relied on other subjects sorry, on access to their subjects, there were still some things too exploitatively true or too scurrilously false for them to say. This is where the bloggers came in. I don't give an F about publicists, boasted Perez Hilton in his book Red Carpet Suicide. Oh shoot, I shouldn't have said that word. It's the name of his book. I'm gonna get flagged now. I'm reading the name of a book. It's the title of Perez Hilton's book. Quote, I don't need access to their clients and I don't have to keep them happy. I will rarely end an item because all gossip items were created equal. Their alienage, it's their inalienable right, end quote. For the blogs, celebrities were to be treated with an odd mixture of obsession and disgust. Quote, Updated daily will give you the real scoop, a brutally honest perspective on the stench that we call celebrities, promised Hollywood Tuna. If the blogs were forced to take themselves seriously, which rarely happened, given that the signature tone of the aughts was aggressive glibness, they would present themselves as redistributive. Why can't I read, you guys? Redistributive force, taking from the coddled elite of stardom and giving it to the public. Or they would appeal to digital fatalism, as through their actions they were not all as though their actions were not actions at all, but rather an inelucutable, I don't think I know that word, consequence of the inelucutable consequence of the internet. Interesting. One of the fun features of Gawker was called Gawker Stalker, a map providing instant updates on locations of celebrities based on reader tips. The internet, though libertarian in its underlying philosophy, often turned out to be totalitarian in effect. When Jimmy Kimmel took Gawker's editor Emily Gold to task about this in 2007 on CNN, she responded with a post that often cast celebrities as entitled whiners demanding special treatment. It must be so hard to be a celebrity and have people say mean things about you. The thing is, though, that everyone who's all at in the public eye, The thing is, though, that everyone who's at all in the public eye, celebrity or not, is now subject to being insulted by anyone at any time. Oh, this is interesting, right? And very true. Hey, Jen. I'm going to read it again because I read it clunkily, but this is an important line and it's something that I actually deal with, right? This is what it says. The thing is, though, that everyone who is at all in the public eye, whether they are celebrity or not, is now subject to being insulted by anyone at any time. Are you kicking out of your wrap because you're getting hungry? You have been asleep for 2 hours. That's interesting, right? Thanks to an innovation that makes it possible for anyone with a computer and a wireless connection to track people down and say mean things about them via email, the standard for electronic mail, or message or blog. Sorry, weblog. Gold presented her website's work here as morally neutral as an outcome of impersonal technological forces. Anyone who complained about the privacy implications was only demonstrating their own redundancy. Gould left Gawker less than a year later, having realized the whole enterprise was bad for me and probably for the world. So let's just run through what this woman did, unfortunately. And I'm willing to let people learn from their mistakes, but she wrote this whole thing, put it out there that people deserve what she did, and then left because the culture wasn't good for her. Because then she was put in the public eye, and she was then subject to scrutiny. I accept that we need to learn, and we need to accept people when they correct their behavior, but it'd be nice if she would print a retraction. It was fortunate for Gawker that Gould was a woman and Jimmy Kimmel was a man. It helped conceal the unsavory truth about the way that fame fell differently on different genders. Maybe the perfect example of the aughts' attitude to the famous was the so-called bling ring, five middle-class LA teens, a boy and 4 girls plus 1 older man, who stole more than $3 million worth of jewelry and designer goods from various celebrities between 2008 and 2009. Oh, I think Paris Hilton was among those, right? Didn't we read about that in her memoir? I think so, huh? A Vanity Fair article about them was adapted into a 2013 movie called The Bling Ring, directed by Sofia Coppola and starring Emma Watson. Oh, I might want to watch that. Their victims included, oh, here we go, Paris and Lindsay, as well as Megan Fox, Rachel Bilson, among others. The themes used the gossip blogs to work out when their targets would be out of town. Wow. Exactly the kind of intrusion that Kimmel had warned about, resulting from reporting celebrity locations in real time. You know, it's so funny. I didn't know it at the time because I was very young, but some of you know that I ran like a Broadway version of kind of like a celebrity blog or whatever when I was younger. But even as a young person, I had the wherewithal, and I told my staff, Liv was among my staff, I always told everyone, we never post in real time. Like, I always wanted everything delayed until the person was no longer in the location that we were posting about and I wasn't told this because it was before this happened, but for this reason, right? So like if a performer was at something or whatever and they agreed to, because we always asked permission for pictures, we didn't take pictures like paparazzi. We would like go up to a Broadway person and say like, hey, can we take a picture of you or whatever like that, and if they agreed, we wouldn't post it until hours later when they weren't there anymore, you know, so that no one could go and find them. Was kind of the concept. Whether that helped or not, I don't know, but it was like my small way of trying to be better, I guess. I don't know. Whether or not I was actually doing a good job, who's to say? But, you know, I was trying to have morals, you know what I mean? But like, again, the one thing that I knew was morally important was that we always asked permission for pictures. We didn't take like you see these like things, but like if a Broadway performer was like out at the same place we were having lunch as, we might like go up to them and be like, hey, do you want to be featured on our blog? We'll take a picture of you and tell people what you had for lunch, you know, whatever, like that stupid stuff. But if they said yes, then that's free reign, right? I guess. Okay. Or maybe me saying that is a part of the problem. No, I think if they agree to it, it's okay. I think if they say you can post it, I think it makes it okay, right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. Paris was their first victim because the thieves reasoned that she would be dumb, quote unquote, and delaying it. Yes, that too. Part of their motivation was certainly financial, but that doesn't explain why they deliberately took small amounts of goods with the intention of going back again and again, or why their victims were almost exclusively young women who all shared a particular celebrity profile. While they did burgle 2 men, both male victims were living with women who were the primary targets. It doesn't explain why the thieves wore rather than... Wait, what? It doesn't explain why the thieves wore rather than fenced. Oh, the designer clothes they took. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't understanding that sentence at first. The thieves wore the clothes that they took. They didn't like sell them for money or get rid of them. They wore them. That's weird. Do you think you weren't going to get caught wearing them? Anyway. LAPD officer Brett Goodkin, the lead investigator, told journalist Nancy Jo Sales that he was struck by the stockish quality of the offenses. Quote, it may be a stretch, but is wanting to wear somebody's clothes that different from wanting to wrap yourself up in their skin like that guy in Silence of the Lambs? End quote. He's not wrong. Like, putting on someone else's clothes that haven't been like loaned you, like if your friend loans you a shirt, that's one thing, but like the act of taking someone's belongings and then embodying yourself in them is really flippin' weird, right? It's really weird. Yeah, I don't know. That's not good. Burglary is usually imagined as a simple property crime. Actually, a great many burglaries are schmexually motivated. For the perpetrator, breaching the house is a metaphor for breaching the victim's body. The bling ring was not acting out of righteous disgust at fame, but more likely out of a desire to possess and violate the famous. A living reenactment of the Crimea River video in which Justin Timberlake takes his revenge out on a cheating girlfriend who looks like Britney, and that desire was reinforced and abetted by the media that they consumed. At the time of the arrests, one of the girls involved was being filmed for her own reality show, and she later ended up sharing a cell block with Lindsay.
Rather than being tactfully shelved, the series, called Pretty Wild, was broadcast on E!, home of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, in 2010. Seriously, Roxy. Meanwhile, Gawker thought that it labeled the bling ring burglaries as terrifying and insane, and continued to post Gawker stalker items until 2013. The division of public and private has always been fraught for women in a way that it hasn't for men. In fact, women were identified within the domestic sphere and made questionable whether they had any right to public life at all. When public toilets were established in Victorian London, men's facilities were easily and widely accepted, but there was entrenched hostility towards providing the same for women. The reasoning, roughly, was that a decent woman should never be far from her house, so why would she need a public toilet? I'm going to get wrinkles just from facially reacting to this book. By anthropologist Mary Douglas's definition, dirt is a matter out of place, and to a society that believed women's place was in the home, a woman in the streets was dirt. I know, honey, I know. You can keep sleeping. You're okay. You're okay. Oh, you're okay. I know, you're gonna need to get up soon and eat. I know, the fact that people believed it was crazy. Jack the Ripper's victims were classed as schmoshmatoots, but not because there was any evidence that they even sold schmecks, but simply because they had been in a public space when they were murdered. Jack the Ripper's victims were believed to be SWs, not because they actually had any evidence that they were, just because they were out in public. In 1910, when the suffragettes marched on Parliament in London on what became known as Black Friday, a public assertion of women's rights to participate in public life, the police put them down not merely with violence, but with SA, grabbing the protesters' breasts. Women belonged to the private realm, and when they left it, they became public women, implicitly accessible to anyone or any man, a logic that reached across the centuries and continents and eventually modems to create an inescapable snare of the upskirt decade. Wow. Wow. Oh yeah, they are. They're Saved by the Bell pants. Isn't that cute? Thank you. Brittany, Paris, Lindsay, Aaliyah, Janet, Amy, Kim, China, and Jen had all sought recognition, and therefore they had forfeited all boundary. For women, attention was the vampire you invited in and could never expel. Wow. All right, so this chapter is not over. There's still more in it, but she's acting like she's going to wake up and want to eat, and we've been on for a little while anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and pause it for now. We will obviously keep reading because this book is fascinating. I will keep posting ahead when I'm able to get on. Hopefully I'll be able to get on at the same time, or, you know, roughly the same time tomorrow if she takes a nap at the same time, but this is a fascinating read, you guys. I will get it up on YouTube for anyone who missed it because I think it's a worthwhile listen. And if you know anyone who might be interested in this, definitely share it with them, just because I think this is something worth talking about, and it makes interesting conversations, right? I think anyway. I think it's a very interesting, concept. I love you all. I miss you all. Hopefully I'll be on, like I said, another time to do more. Sorry, I'm just de-wrapping her so that I can feed her here in a second. But thank you all for coming, even though it was a little bit early. I love you guys. Okay, I hear you. Yes, I will feed you right now. All right, bye guys. I'll see you later.